community advocate for What Works. And today I'm going to do a little walkthrough of our What Works editorial calendar, which we have over in Notion. Just to give you a little overview of what we use our editorial calendar for, we use this to map out all of the content that we post to the What Works network. And we also have integrated in our podcast content so that we can see how everything fits together and kind of just have an alignment that carries through all the content that we're creating. And so we start out, we have the template that we're using is an editorial calendar. So it's a full calendar as opposed to an inline calendar. And I'll get into this, but then you can see we've made all sorts of other views that allow us to sort of parse the information in different ways. As we developed the calendar, we sort of, as a team, came up with the properties for events that made the sense for all the events that or all the types of content that we're housing in the calendar. And I'll show you what I mean by that in a second. But let's see, right here we are, it's June 5th. We actually don't have anything to do today, which is nice. And that's good because today is a busy interview day for Tara. And so what you see here are all the little events, which means could be, we even define if that's a network post or it's the podcast, if it's an actual event, live event. So I'll just open one as an example. So every Monday we do a weekly newsletter for the network, and I'll show you what that looks like. And okay, so this is the template that is working for us. You can add in properties. So in this case, we can see who is in charge of this, getting the newsletter out. We have when it's going to go out, what for tags. This would be the type of post that it is, and in fact, maybe I should change that name to type of post or type of content. The status in this case is completed, but we have a variety of statuses in here, and then we just have all the things. And this is sort of a compilation of all the properties that make sense for all the type of content that goes in here. That's one thing I'll say for this type of calendar. When you make a standalone calendar, add a property, then that property applies to all events that happen in the calendar, if that makes sense. You can change your view of those properties in different views so that not everything shows up. But when you're working on a single event within the calendar, you're going to see all those properties. So I'm just going to make this a little bigger for a second just so we can see it in its fullness. So the way we've used this is we sort of have the process outlined and we talk about who does what in the process. I have a space where I can add in popular conversations from our network into this space. This is all just how we've crafted it to make it work for us. And then there's a spot where Tara writes out her newsletter message, or if I were running the message, I would write mine out so that when it comes time to put the calendar together, we all do our little parts. Tara knows that she's going to write the message. She's going to tag me in Slack. I know that my next thing is to draft the template and pull in all the conversations, update events, et cetera, in ConvertKit. And then I tag Marty, who will give a proofread to it and schedule it. And so we all, we should have clicked those off. The system doesn't work if you don't work it. So that's how what an individual event looks like. So I'm going to back out of that and get back to our calendar view. So let's click back here. What I love about the calendar is, so I plotted out, we sort of plotted out our distinct events, and each of us worked out what we wanted the body of those different things to look like. I'll give you an example. So here's our Insider Hour event. That's got a whole different thing going on. But once you do that, it is so simple to just simply duplicate and update. And you just change the title, tweak it, change the due date. update any assignees, uncheck boxes, and go. And I'll do a batch of like a month at a time. So I love this. I'm going to delete this. And then you can see that our podcast episodes are, let's see, where would a podcast? Here we go. Podcast is also in here. You can see there's links, important links in here. And then as they create the interview questions, interview notes, all of that is in here. So see, we were able to each kind of, once we have a framework, manipulate how and customize the body of each type of occurrence so that it works the way we want it to work. So that's a general overview. And then in order to sort of start to understand what you're responsible for, we've created different tables. So let's look at, here would be just a table where you see everything. And this is from the beginning of time. It's still loading up. That'll be anything and everything that's on in the calendar. But you can see we've arranged it so that the way the properties show up makes sense for us. But it's great to have an at-a-glance view of what's happening. If you like lists, it's helpful for that from that perspective. And then you can still open up any instance and take a look at it in detail. So that's why it's fabulous. But seeing every event is overwhelming. So what we actually, our top view that we use is to see only current events on the calendar, or current projects, however you want to call it. And this helps me also to double check and see what things might still need to be checked off. This is actually a good exercise. Because what we've done here is create a filter so that this calendar only shows us anything that isn't completed. So the status is not completed. So once I mark something as completed, boop, disappears. Same thing. These are all actually, let's just do it. All done. Excellent. So that helps us stay current, helps us keep a management view of what's happening. And then we've also created individual views. So I've created tables for each team member so they can go in and look. So here I know all the things that I'm responsible for. Now, these are ones that multiple people, including myself, are responsible for under assignee. So I can see specifically what I'm responsible and not get, which is not as overwhelming as that giant, long list. That's why I love this. So in this filter, we have that the assignee contains me, and adding a second layer so that I don't have to see all the past stuff, and that the status is not completed. So, and then we also have a sort on this, and that is so that I can see it in the order that it's happening. The scheduled date is ascending. All right. So we've done that for all the team members. And even then you can take some of the tables are organized specifically by the tag, the project tag. So Sean wants to take a look at everything that's related to the podcast. He can see it by that. He could add in a filter to get rid of these completed if he wanted. He can do whatever he wants. One thing to remember, and I've learned this the hard way in some cases, I'm going to go back to ongoing. Just anytime, think about these properties as flowing through every single view. So whether you're looking at the calendar, whether you're looking at a table or a board, these properties, if you change it, it's going to change everywhere. So be careful about that. And if you change the view while someone's in this exact spot working on it, that will change the view for them too, I believe. So you'll have to experiment with that. I've also, let's go back to the calendar view. So really, I'm living and dying by the different views that we've created. um, by the different filters and sorts that we've created within those views, and then be able to have this top level calendar view has been fantastic for us. You can I'll mention that you can also decide what properties show up in this calendar view in the little mini event here. So you can toggle on. So what we see is who's responsible for it, the type of post that it is, and the status. And that is along with the title. So that's nice. If you wanted to, you could add in a due date or a hedge, something else that was relative. But we don't want to overclog it, but we felt that these were the most helpful ones to see at a glance in the big picture. So that's about all that I would say about that. If you're interested, you can read or watch my Loom video on the master task list and see how we've created a space to see not only what team members are responsible for on the editorial calendar, but also tasks that sort of fall outside of content creation. And that'll take you through that. That's in the main post. And hope this was helpful. Thank you. Bye.